JWW on the move. While the storm clouds gather far across the sea, let us pledge allegiance to a land that's free. Let us all be grateful for a land so fair, as we raise our voices in a solemn prayer. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home. Welcome, everyone. Jim Williams here, coming to you from the beautiful paradise of Central Florida, JWW on the Move. I'm here in my office, and today, did you know this about the Constitution of the United States? We are still celebrating our 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, but did you know that September 17th is Constitution Day? That's the day in 1787 when the Constitution was adopted and then sent to the states for ratification. Prior to that, the country had operated under the Articles of Confederation. Remember, the Declaration was approved July 4, 1776, and by November 1777, the Articles of Confederation had been adopted by the Congress and sent to the states for ratification. Now, it was different then because the ratification process required unanimity. In other words, all 13 states had to ratify the Articles of Confederation before it became the operating government of the United States. It took until 1781 to get all 13 of the states on board. But on March 1, 1781, Maryland, the final holdout, finally ratified the Articles of Confederation, and the next day, March 2nd, 1781, is when the United States Congress assembled for its duties. Now, on September 7th of this year, we will celebrate 239 years with one Constitution. Now, we are one of 193 member nations in the UN. Now, that number fluctuates sometimes because one country will overtake another country and so forth and so on, but roughly 193 countries in the world. And our country, every country has its own form of government. We have our form of government. Other countries have their forms of government. We wrote our Constitution in 1787. It was adopted in 1787. And since then, we've had one Constitution, one form of government. And this year, as I say, on September 17th, 2026, the Constitution will be 239 years old. 239 years! Think about that. Now, let me show you how unusual that is. During that same period of time, while America only had one government, look at this. France has had 15 since 1789. Haiti has had 23 since 1801. Brazil has had 8 since 1822. Ecuador has had 20 since 1830. The Philippines have had 7 since 1899. Look at those other nations. And look at how frequently they changed their constitutions. Look at how many constitutions they've had in the same period of time that we've had one. And as you look at these nations, some of them are friends, some of them are enemies and opponents. But notice, with all the nations, how frequently they change their forms of government, their styles of government, and their governing documents. It's very common to have the kind of instability and turmoil that you see here. So when you look at that and you say, wow, what special thing do we have to have one constitution for 239 years? Well, what is the average length of a constitution in the world today, you might ask? And the answer is 17 years. 17 years. We've had ours for 239 years. We are by far the most stable nation in the world. And we've had one constitution for 239 years. Every year that we have a birthday on the Constitution Day, September 17th, we break another record. We break another record and go another year ahead of everybody else. Many nations average a violent revolution about every generation, and they average a new constitution about every 17 years. We don't. We haven't. We are very unique. But there are concerted efforts by forces and organizations and individuals who are bent on obliterating our founding principles, our Constitution, and our free America. So it behooves us to appreciate what our founding fathers, through God's providence, has given us, and to protect it, and to restore what's been damaged, and to perpetuate it forward to the rising generation. So it's time for us to heed the challenge of our very first Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, John Jay, when he said, quote, "Every member of the state," that means every citizen, "every member of the state ought diligently to read and to study the Constitution of his country, and teach the rising generation to be free. By knowing their rights, they will sooner perceive when they are violated and be better prepared to defend and assert them." End quote. So let's look at the Constitution. Let's see what maybe you don't remember, maybe something that you missed, or maybe something you were never told. Tell me if what I show you here you already knew, or it's brand new information. Let's start with the 7 articles in the Constitution. There are 7. The first article is about Congress. The second article is about the presidency. The third article is about the judiciary. The fourth article is about the states and the fact that they are guaranteed to be each state is guaranteed to be a Republican form of government. The fifth is the amendment process. The sixth article is about debts and the supremacy of the Constitution being the supreme law of the land, about taking oaths, and that there is no religious test to hold office under these United States. And the seventh article is about the ratification process and the attestation of the document as being true. That's the 7 articles in the Constitution. So let's look for just a moment at a couple of things. The first article is about Congress. It establishes a House. This is the House of Representatives chosen by popular vote of the people based on and to represent the population within their states. It also establishes a Senate. Now, originally, the members of the Senate were not chosen by popular vote of the people, like we do today. Wow, how about that? Did you know that? Did you know originally that the senators were appointed by the state legislatures. Did you know that? Not by the people, but they were appointed by the state legislatures. Now, why is that? In fact, why is there even a Senate if you've got the House of Representatives, which is the representation of the people? And the answer is the design of our federal government had the House of Representatives that originally intended to represent the people, and the Senate did not represent the people. The Senate represented the state governments in the federal legislature to make sure that the state's interests were upheld as well as the people's interests. So the Senate existed to represent the state's interest in the federal government. And again, it was the state legislatures that appointed the senators in the beginning. And it lasted this way for years until it took an amendment to the Constitution to change how senators are chosen. Now, Article 1 has 10 sections. Article 2 has 4 sections, and Article 3 has 3 sections. Did you know that that was the distinction? Had you ever thought about that? What that means is Congress is the most powerful of the 3 branches. It took 10 sections to explain the existence of Congress. Only 4 to explain the presidency, and only 3 to explain the judiciary. They are equal in jurisdiction, but they are not equal in power. Congress is the branch nearest the people. Therefore, it was intended by our founders that Congress would be the most powerful of the 3 branches of government. You have a chance to change your representatives every 2 years. The Constitution limits Congress. Article 1, Section 8 enumerates only 19 specific powers that are specifically granted to Congress by the states. Section 9 tells what the federal government cannot do, and Section 10 tells what the states cannot do. Here's something else you may or may not know. From 1787 until 1913, there was no federal income tax because the Constitution said Congress could not levy a direct tax on the people. But that changed in 1913 with the amendment establishing the income tax. The first 10 amendments are called the Bill of Rights. Notice the wording of each amendment limiting the federal government. The Constitution established limited government. Notice, for example, in the amendments, the first 10 amendments called the Bill of Rights. Each amendment says something like, Congress shall make no law. See that? Amendment 2 says that the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. You see that? Limiting what the federal government can do. Amendment 3 says no soldier shall in time of peace be quartered in anybody's house. Amendment 4 says the right of the people to be secure in their papers and houses and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated. And Amendment 5 says no person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on a presentment or indictment of a grand jury. So over and over and over and over in the federal Constitution, the Congress is limited, the federal government is limited in what it cannot do. It's told specifically in Section 8 of Article 1 what it can do, and then these added 10 amendments, these Bill of Rights, further identify the fact they cannot. Congress cannot. Congress cannot. And then in the 10th Amendment, it says, basically, if we forgot anything, you can't do that either. The power is not delegated to the United States, by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively, or to the people. But then there was a fundamental change in 1865. 1865 was the 13th Amendment about slavery. It was the first amendment to have two sections. And Section 2 says, Congress shall have power. You see the fundamental change in thinking? Where every other one of the Bill of Rights said Congress shall not, Congress shall not, Congress shall not. Suddenly now, in the era of the Civil War, the mentality had changed so much that the amendment now says Congress shall have power. And almost every succeeding amendment, Amendment 14, the Congress shall have power. Amendment 15, the Congress shall have power. Amendment 16, the Congress shall have power. Amendment 18, Section 2 says, the Congress and the several states shall have concurrent power. Amendment 19, Congress shall have power. So here then was this fundamental change from limited government to giving Congress more and more power. Not only that, but did you know this? The design of our government in our Constitution shows us that we are not a democracy, but we are in fact a republic. Let me illustrate what I mean. Remember, a republic is a representative government where a body of representatives make the laws, and not a direct vote of the people by a majority to make laws. That's a democracy. In fact, the Constitution itself did not go into effect until 9 of the 13 states had ratified the Constitution. 9 out of 13, that's 69%. That's more than a majority, but it was required for the Constitution to become law. So right off the bat, you can see it's not majority rule strictly. Also, initially, the Senate, the legislatures of the states appointed the senators, not a popular vote, but appointed by the state legislatures. And then we have the presidential election, originally not elected by a popular vote of the citizens, but the Constitution designs a combination vote by a temporary and independent body of electors chosen only for this one-time purpose. Voting is cast by states, and the number of electors in each state is the combined number of the representatives in the state and the House of Representatives and the 2 senators representing the state. So those 2 numbers combined give the state how many electoral votes that they have to cast for president. So we see, it's not a democracy. It's not majority rule. In order to override a presidential veto, 2/3 of those present and voting in both houses of Congress are required, provided a quorum is present in each house. So it's not majority vote, it's 2/3. The presidential appointments and treaties, the Senate must give 2/3 approval, not majority, but 2/3. Any amendments to the Constitution, 2/3 of both the Senate and the House have to agree to the change in the Constitution, and then it has to pass the state's legislature by 3/4. 3/4 of the states must approve the amendment, or it does not become part of the Constitution. So you see, that is not majority rule. That's not democratic, but that is the form of Republican government that we have established. And it has lasted 239 years. There are many places you can get a copy of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution in the form of a little booklet like this. This particular one is from a place called Patriot Post. There's a website, patriotpost.us. So you can get a copy of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. And if you, I recommend that you read it and study it. I have mine all marked up. Let's look at that quote one more time from John Jay, the first Supreme Court Justice of the United States. Every member of the state ought diligently to read and to study the Constitution of his country and teach the rising generation to be free. By knowing their rights, they will sooner perceive when they are violated and be better prepared to defend and assert them. I love America. I love our flag. I love our Declaration. I love the pilgrims that came here and landed there at Plymouth. I love our Constitution. I love our freedom. Thank you for joining me today. I hope this was meaningful for you. For those of you who are followers of Jesus of Nazareth, I have this encouraging scripture for you. 2 Corinthians chapter 4, beginning at verse 16. So we do not lose heart, though our outer self is wasting away. Our inner self is being renewed day by day. For this light momentary affliction is preparing for us an eternal weight of glory beyond all comparison, as we look not to the things that are seen, but to the things that are unseen. For the things that are seen are transient, but the things that are unseen are eternal. June and I are leaving for a trip tomorrow. So come along with us. See what we find along the way on our road trip to Georgia. Me and Mama Woo. Until next time, if the Lord wills, I'll see you in the next video. God bless. Goodbye.
Wow.
Great.